Poland is one of those countries whose story cannot be understood by looking at a map alone. Today, it is a major European Union member with more than 38 million people, a growing economy, and cities that blend medieval squares with modern skylines. But the deeper story of Poland is one of location, pressure, survival, and reinvention. It sits in Central Europe, between Germany to the west and Belarus and Ukraine to the east, with the Baltic Sea to the north and mountain ranges along parts of its southern edge. That position has made Poland a bridge between regions, but also a battlefield between empires. Over the centuries, Poland has been a kingdom, a vast commonwealth, a partitioned land erased from maps, a reborn republic, an occupied country during World War II, a communist state, and finally a modern liberal democracy. To understand Poland is to understand how geography and history can shape a national identity built around endurance. Geographically, Poland has a remarkable variety packed into a country of about 312,696 square kilometers. In the north, the Baltic coast connects Poland to maritime trade and includes cities like Gdansk, a port with enormous historical importance. Moving inland, the landscape includes plains, forests, lakes, rivers, and agricultural regions that have long supported settlement and trade. In the south, the Sudetes and Carpathian Mountains create natural borders and scenic highlands, including areas that attract hikers, skiers, and tourists. Poland's climate is temperate, shaped by both oceanic and continental influences, which means its seasons are distinct but not extreme compared with much of Eurasia. This physical setting helped make Poland a meeting point of cultures, armies, merchants, and ideas. Its open plains made movement easier, but they also made defense harder, a reality that deeply affected Polish history. Human activity in the area that is now Poland stretches far back into prehistory, with evidence from the Lower Paleolithic and continuous settlement after the end of the last glacial period. But the foundations of the Polish state took shape much later, in the early medieval period, when West Slavic tribes inhabited the region. One of these groups, the Polans, gave Poland its name. The decisive turning point came in 966, when Mieszko I, a ruler of the Polans, accepted Christianity under the Roman Catholic tradition. This was not only a religious event, it was a geopolitical choice. Conversion connected the emerging Polish state to the Latin Christian world of Western Europe, strengthened its legitimacy, and helped protect it from being treated as pagan territory open to conquest. In this sense, the baptism of 966 is often seen as the symbolic beginning of Polish statehood. By 1025, the Kingdom of Poland had emerged, placing the new state firmly within the political order of medieval Europe. Over the following centuries, Poland experienced dynastic struggles, regional fragmentation, foreign pressure, and reunification. Its rulers worked to build institutions, defend borders, and expand influence. Medieval Poland was not isolated, it was part of a wider European system of trade, diplomacy, religion, and warfare. Towns grew, churches and monasteries spread literacy and administration, and German, Jewish, Ruthenian, Lithuanian, and other communities contributed to the cultural mix of the region. This diversity became a recurring feature of Polish history. Poland was never simply a single ethnic or cultural bloc. It often functioned as a multi-ethnic space, especially as its political connections expanded eastward. That complexity would become even more important with the rise of one of Europe's most unusual states. In 1569, Poland formalized its long-standing association with Lithuania through the Union of Lublin, creating the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. At its height, this Commonwealth was one of the largest and most powerful political entities in Europe, stretching across vast territories of Central and Eastern Europe. It was notable not only for its size, but for its political system. The Commonwealth had an elective monarchy, meaning kings were chosen rather than simply inherited through a single royal line. Its nobles enjoyed unusually broad political rights compared with many other European states, a system sometimes described as a noble democracy. This brought a culture of parliamentary debate and political liberty among the nobility, but it also created weaknesses. The same freedoms that limited royal power could make reform difficult, especially when neighboring states became more centralized and militarily efficient. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's golden age produced major cultural, political, and intellectual achievements. It was a land of religious diversity compared with many parts of Europe, and its cities connected trade routes between East and West. In 1791, near the end of its existence, the Commonwealth adopted a modern constitution, often remembered as Europe's first modern written constitution. The Constitution of May 3 was an attempt to strengthen the state, reduce political paralysis, and preserve independence in a dangerous geopolitical environment. But reform came too late. Poland's neighbors, especially Russia, Prussia, and Austria, saw opportunity in its weakness. By the end of the 18th century, they partitioned Polish territory among themselves. Poland disappeared from the map as an independent state, but Polish identity did not disappear. Language, culture, memory, and resistance carried the nation through more than a century without sovereignty. The partition period is central to understanding modern Polish identity. For 123 years, from the late 18th century until 1918, there was no independent Polish state. Polish lands were divided between empires with different laws, languages, and political systems. In some areas, authorities tried to suppress Polish culture. In others, limited autonomy allowed Polish education and institutions to survive. Throughout the 19th century, Poles launched uprisings, preserved literature and music, and built networks of political activism. Romantic poets, composers, teachers, and underground organizers became guardians of national memory. The idea of Poland became something larger than government borders. It lived in families, churches, schools, songs, and exile communities. This is why independence in 1918, after World War I broke the old empires apart, was not the creation of a new identity, but the restoration of one that had endured. After World War I, Poland reappeared as the Second Polish Republic. But independence did not bring immediate stability. The new state had to unify territories that had been ruled for generations by different empires, each with different rail systems, legal codes, economies, and administrative habits. Poland also faced armed conflicts over its borders, including struggles that helped define its place between Germany and Soviet Russia. The interwar republic was ambitious and fragile. It built institutions, developed industry, and promoted national culture, but it also faced ethnic diversity, political tension, and difficult neighbors. In September 1939, those dangers became catastrophic. Nazi Germany invaded from the west, and the Soviet Union invaded from the east. This joint destruction of Polish sovereignty marked the beginning of World War II in Europe and opened one of the darkest chapters in Polish and world history. World War II devastated Poland on an almost unimaginable scale. The German occupation brought mass executions, forced labor, destruction of cities, and the systematic murder of Jews in the Holocaust. Poland had been home to one of the largest Jewish communities in the world, and Nazi Germany built many of its extermination camps in occupied Polish territory. Millions of Polish citizens, Jewish and non-Jewish, died during the war. The Soviet occupation and later Soviet domination also brought deportations, repression, and political violence. Warsaw, the capital, became a symbol of destruction and resistance, especially after the Warsaw Uprising of 1944. And the city's near total devastation. When the war ended, Poland's borders shifted westward, millions were displaced, and the country's demographic and cultural landscape changed permanently. Victory over Nazi Germany did not bring full freedom, it brought a new form of control. After World War II, Poland became the Polish People's Republic, a communist state aligned with the Soviet Union and part of the Eastern Bloc. It joined the Warsaw Pact and operated under a political system where real power rested with the Communist Party, not free democratic competition. The post-war decades brought industrialization, rebuilt cities, expanded education, and social mobility for many people, but also censorship, shortages, political repression, and dependence on Moscow. Tensions repeatedly surfaced between society and the state. Workers protested, intellectuals organized, and the Catholic Church remained an influential institution outside full communist control. In 1980, the Solidarity movement emerged from strikes at the Gdansk shipyard. Led by workers and supported by broad social forces, Solidarity became the first independent trade union in the Soviet bloc. It was more than a labor movement, it became a national challenge to communist rule. Solidarity's importance reached far beyond Poland. Although the government imposed martial law in 1981 to crush the movement, the idea could not be erased. Underground publications, church support, international attention, and economic crisis kept pressure on the regime. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was weakening, and communist governments across Eastern Europe were losing legitimacy. In 1989, Poland held partially free elections after negotiations between the government and opposition. Solidarity won overwhelmingly where it was allowed to compete, triggering a political transformation. Poland became the first communist country in the region to re-establish itself as a liberal democracy through this process. The fall of communism in Poland helped accelerate the collapse of the Iron Curtain across Europe. The country that had been partitioned, occupied, and controlled by outside powers became a symbol of peaceful democratic transition. Modern Poland is a parliamentary republic with a bicameral legislature made up of the Sejm and the Senate. Its capital and largest city is Warsaw, a rebuilt metropolis that reflects both trauma and renewal. Other major cities include Krakow, known for its preserved historic core, Wrocław, shaped by complex German and Polish history, Lodz, once a major industrial center, Poznan, an important trade and business hub, and Gdansk, deeply tied to maritime commerce and the Solidarity movement. Poland is divided into 16 voivodeships, which serve as regional administrative units. Since joining NATO and the European Union, Poland has become an important regional power in Central Europe. It is also part of the Schengen area, linking it to the wider European system of travel, trade, regulation, and diplomacy. Its modern identity combines national sovereignty with European integration. Economically, Poland is one of Europe's major success stories since the end of communism. It is considered a developed, high-income market economy and ranks among the largest economies in the European Union. Its growth has been driven by manufacturing, services, exports, foreign investment, education, and integration with European markets. Poland also offers universal health care and free university education, and it is often noted for relatively high safety and economic freedom. At the same time, like many countries, it faces challenges: regional inequality, political polarization, demographic pressures, energy transition, and the security risks created by war and instability to its east. Poland's cultural heritage is also significant, with 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, more than 100 historic monuments, and 23 national parks. From medieval Krakow to the Białowieża forest, Poland's past and landscape remain central to its global image. Poland's story is not simply a sequence of invasions and recoveries. It is the story of a country shaped by its position at the crossroads of Europe, where geography created both opportunity and danger. It became a medieval kingdom, a vast commonwealth, a partitioned nation without a state, a reborn republic, a victim of total war, a communist satellite, and then a democratic member of NATO and the European Union. Each era left marks on its institutions, borders, cities, and collective memory. That is why Poland matters today. It is not only a country of 38 million people in Central Europe, it is a reminder that national survival can depend on culture as much as territory, and that political transformation can begin in shipyards, classrooms, churches, and public squares long before it appears inevitable on a map. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.